Good evening. Apparently there are over 800,000 sufferers of depression in Australia each year, and most of them are women. No wonder they eat so many Tim Tams. Earlier this year, a certain radio station, who shall remain nameless, had a tribute to a colleague who apparently died of suicide. Although they didn't actually say the S word. They didn't even know he was depressed, because he never talked about it. They also had a thing called Footy Jumper Friday. This is a bit like Movember, although instead of growing a moustache for charity, you wear a football jumper. This event was supposed to reduce the stigma of depression and suicide. But they never once talked about depression or suicide. They didn't talk to any sufferers, or doctors, or counsellors. All they did was talk about football. By not talking about, or even mentioning depression and suicide, they in fact increased the stigma. No wonder their friend didn't want to talk about his depression. He knows how uncomfortable it makes people feel. But as someone who's had to deal with depression for, what time is it now? 28 years, I've got a little suggestion on how to reduce the stigma. Shave off the moustache, take off the footy jumper, and talk about it for God's sake. So here's my idea. I think there should be a comedy event called Cheer Up. How many times have depressed people heard that little gem of advice? What you do is you get comedians, actors, musicians and other prominent people who've had to deal with depression to come up on stage and talk about it. And I don't mean, I think you ought to know I'm feeling very depressed, because that would just bum everybody out. Instead, they talk about incidents in their life when they were feeling really down and something lifted their spirits, brought them out of the darkness, or back from the edge of a ledge. It could have been something as simple as a humorous incident, a joke, a song, or even a cuddle. That way the people in the audience know that they're not suffering alone, that there are other people out there, successful people even, who have the same problems as them. And then maybe one day they might be feeling down and their medication hasn't kicked in, and they'll suddenly remember an anecdote from Cheer Up, and it might cheer them up, or bring them back from the edge of a ledge. There are a lot of people in the world suffering in silence. If you want to end the suffering, you have to end the silence.